Many people take it for granted that the political right are better economic managers. But this is a lie. We must reject this widespread, false perception. We must disprove it. Labour has a far better record of economic management. The first Labour government dragged New Zealand out of the Great Depression. They were elected in the midst of the worst financial crisis in recent memory, and they rapidly worked to put an end to it. By the end of their term in government, New Zealand had one of the strongest economies in the world. Labour established our relationship with China. This relationship is a central pillar of our economic prosperity. In the 1970s, Labour introduced a forward-thinking superannuation scheme. This long-term policy would have made us considerably richer had it been kept in place. National scrapped it and replaced it with an unsustainable short-term scheme that was designed to win votes. It was a cynical effort that caused skyrocketing government debt. This has been described as the worst financial decision in the country's history. It gave away the enormous long-term potential of the Labour Party scheme and replaced it with cynical electioneering. One cannot speak about Labour's economic competence without mentioning Michael Cullen. Michael Cullen was Finance Minister during Helen Clark's Labour government. He delivered 9 consecutive budgets with a surplus, more than any National Party finance minister ever has. His Cullen Fund helped New Zealand to get through the global financial crisis in relatively good condition. More recently, Labour pulled the New Zealand economy through the major threat that was COVID. I find it very hard to believe that National would have done a better job. We have seen what right-wing governments did overseas. It did not end well. Labour is much better at controlling unemployment. National hardly even pretends to care about unemployment rates. Labour, meanwhile, reliably keeps unemployment rates relatively low. Labour invests in education and healthcare. Labour understands the simple reality that a healthy and educated population is the backbone of a strong economy. Forget about convoluted and abstract economic theory. An uneducated and unhealthy population is a recipe for a weak economy. Labour understands that and has acted accordingly. The political right, meanwhile, has delivered economic failure. They refuse to invest in the country's future. They claim to care about balancing the budget. Muldoon made national debt skyrocket and cancelled Labour's superb superannuation scheme. John Key and Christopher Luxon both borrowed lots of money to fund cynical vote-winning tax cuts. They drove up the debt to deliver tax cuts to their rich donors. Some right-wingers love to praise Ruth Richardson. She doubled child poverty, made inequality skyrocket, and rendered workers powerless by destroying trade unions. The political right does not deserve its reputation for economic common sense. Far from it. They are clueless at best, malicious at worst. Labour is far from flawless, but they have an extensive record of providing good economic management. They have a far better record than their right-wing counterparts.